She's stuck in here. Let's find her.
My name is Ryan Thiessen. I'm co-director and editor and director of photography for Hunter Killer.
And I'm Greg Swinson. I was the writer and co-director for Hunter Killer.
Now, this was first of all, I want to say congratulations on a really great movie. I personally enjoyed it, and hopefully when everybody else gets to see it, they will enjoy it as well. What initially first got you guys into making films? I know the first film that you guys ever made was back in '06, and I know fundamentally they were looking at Hunter Kill Her and your first release up to this point. They're fundamentally different releases, but we're still dealing with women in horror. What made you guys want to start doing horror films?
Well, I think we've always been drawn to horror films. We kind of made a few in the backyard. Just me and Ryan, we met in high school and started making films. And kind of our first love was action films, but that's hard to just make with no budget when you can't do explosions and stuff like that. At least not without upsetting the parents. So we would so we kind of slowly transitioned from action stuff to horror, where we could still kind of accomplish the same thing with certain chases and fight scenes and stuff like that, but on a much more lower budget, and kind of still get what we were trying to accomplish in terms of something exciting, something entertaining.
I'll also say, I mean, there are a lot of horror movies that both Greg and I love, and I particularly love like the survival aspect of horror films. Sort of the base of the films where someone has to, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre style, where they get down, someone is driven basically insane or to the end of their rope or just scratching to survive through this ordeal. And so I think our style kind of evolved between the first one and the second one, basically just this sort of action horror mix sort of thing. Like we love the horror elements, but then we also love to shovel in as much sort of excitement and action as we can, that we can afford, we'll say, in our projects.
Now, you definitely see a lot of the action elements within Hunter Kill Her. Going into, the actual themes of Hunter Kill Her, I know a new job is always a daunting experience for everybody. And I think that fear is kind of intensified when, you're working alone. And of course, women are involved. There's this connection to women and the night and the job as a place of horror, right? And our main character finds themselves fighting for their lives. What made you want to take on this project when doing Hunter Killer?
Well, I'll say one thing about that workplace. It's creepy no matter what. That factory has been in my family for a long time, so I was
Wow.
very aware of how creepy it could be after hours. Just with it being a big metal factory and the pops and cracks, and then you'd hear, okay, I know what that is. I know what that sound is, and then there would be some other sound that, wait, no, that wasn't a metal pop. That sounded like shuffling of feet. That's when it would get creepy. But that was definitely part of the inspiration for using that place as such an easy first day on the job, and you're kind of left alone. And it was like, well, this location just so fits that, where it would be extra kind of creepy. And we kind of used the sort of the idea of sort of a workplace invasion, kind of like a home invasion, except this is some place that this person is working, and where you might not fully feel safe because you are alone in a large place, but really, unless you kind of are, you're just letting your mind play tricks. And so we kind of went with that sort of idea behind developing this idea, where you kind of took a lot from sort of the home invasion type aspects, where it's people kind of coming into your turf, I guess.
Where I think also it's further enhanced by, we're talking about the tension and, your mind playing kind of tricks on you. The gradually unveiling of the killer, and not to mention, I think the top tier musical scoring by David Risdall. I think that makes for an iconic experience and how normalized everything is up to that point, and then just feeling all that tension and the musical scoring by David. I think it creates such a amazing experience watching and actually looking at everything. What was it like trying to combine all of that and making the music scoring for Hunter Killer?
Well, first of all, David's been a friend of mine since fourth grade. So I've known him for a long time. He worked on our previous film. Very, very talented guy. And
Mhm.
so what we did with this was a lot of it was he'd come to the location a few times, and it was also just sort of trying to enhance it with a little bit more of the sort of industrial feel to
Right.
it. That the movie was filled with metal and concrete, and we kind of wanted the sort of our original thing was kind of a John Carpenter meets Terminator 2 soundtrack
Hmm.
kind of idea. I don't know if that's really what it ended up being, because what we ended up with was perfect for what we wanted. That was sort of our initial pitch to him, was somewhere in that realm, and I think what he turned out was definitely worked well for us.
Well, and the funny thing is, we actually created a little like a temp score, kind of what we might have in mind for different parts, and but it was really sort of thrown to David like, but don't. This is just our thought, and we really put kind of too much music in the temp score, um, and and so it's funny because David, when he tried to sort of follow the temp score, would be like, well, just do it, do something that you think would fit with it. And then it'd be like, oh yes, this is it, this is. And then and really he created like a ton of music for the movie, and we went back sort of at the end and sort of really just sort of see where we can reuse some pieces here and there to make it a little more cohesive. And that and David was very supportive of that and helped us do that. So because really I think we kind of gave him too much, like trying to, I don't know, trying to help it along. But really, once it sort of left in his hands, especially like the more emotional scenes, like I was blown away by what he turned in on some of the more emotional stuff. So
Of course.
anyway, but yeah, he did a phenomenal job.
No, I definitely think so as well, especially when we're talking about the camera work in the movie. I think it's truly amazing what you guys were willing to accomplish, the masterful execution that you guys were willing to do with some of the jump scares, and some of the stuff that you were really doing was really impressive in such a confined space. Kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that with you guys.
Sure. Um, yeah, actually, the camera work. I mean, like sort of starting with the lighting and the lighting scheme of it is basically we used a lot of the in scene lighting that was already in the factory. So the factory had
Mhm.
sort of two tiers of lighting built in, where each station had fluorescent lights sort of over them, and then the ceiling they have these big, huge sort of gymnasium style lights. And really, we just turned off those top tier lights, and that created all these like pockets of light and then darkness in between. And so we really leaned into that, and we did it in enhance lighting here and there when needed. But really, that was sort of our starting point. It's almost like having a studio where you just turn on the studio lights that you've set up for the shoot, to sort of start out with. And then from there, yeah, I mean, it's really just Greg and I collaborated. We'd go out on so we actually shot this movie over like 6-7 months on nights and weekends. And so in between shooting days, Greg and I would go to the factory and plan out, how we would do the next sequence and stuff like that. The script was all written out, but how, the chase scene would be pretty briefly written, and then we'd go figure out exactly what we wanted to do and stuff like that, fight scenes, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, a lot of that was just we'd go there and basically plan out exactly how we wanted to do something, and we had a very small crew. Most of the time, it was just Greg, myself, and then we had a makeup artist that worked, was basically the other full time crew member. We bring in help every so often for some of the bigger scenes. and yeah, we had basically a dolly and a gimbal and a our camera, and we just sort of basically moved around and ran around with the lead actor with the camera as much as we could, and yeah, basically just had a lot of fun with it. And what's the best way I mean, like that, the opening credit shot is that's a true one take shot. I mean, we just planned out the route and it's one take, and we set up the lights and had I think three people helping us with that, and we just basically numbered the lights and just yelled out what number to flip the switch, and then so they shut off as we go along. But that's a true one take shot. It was done, and we did like 4 takes of that and finally got it. But yeah, it was just a lot of figuring out what would be the most effective way to shoot the sequence and then just going for it.
I think one of the scenes that were very fun and very effective, that created a sense of intense and impalpable sense of tension and anticipation when we're talking about what I want to say is the bathroom standoff, right? I think once people get to see this film, they're really going to enjoy the scene. That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. Brilliantly shot by you guys, by the way. And I think it was one of the most hardcore horror scenes I think I have ever really seen in a film, to be honest. And it was one of the scenes that I really thoroughly enjoyed when watching this film. The thought and creativity that kind of went into that was really cool.
Awesome, thank you.
Glad you said that, because Ryan hated every minute of shooting that.
Yeah, that bathroom was real. It was really as disgusting as it looks on camera, and I had to lay on the floor. I mean, our lead actress Natalie had to lay on the floor, and the guy playing the villain. So it was gross and it was disgusting, but it came across well on camera because it was all real.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you could actually feel like the tension and just not really wanting to even be in there. Everything just registered so well on there. And it was, like I said, it was just fantastic. But
Awesome.
I do want to talk about our character, Karen. And I think when we're talking about Final Girls, right, I think they take many forms in the sense of where I think she's very resourceful, she's very refreshing, and I think there's something very honest about her when it comes to her vulnerability. And I think it's safe to say that she not only stands for, I think, the evolution of the final girl, but like the average woman when kind of forced into perilous circumstances. So I guess my question to you is, what were your thoughts and ideas when kind of creating somebody that is like Karen when going into Hunt or Kill Her?
Well, I think one of the first things was, she's at a real low point. Once you see the film, you can see that she's kind of had a tough life. But we wanted to kind of start her the beginning of the movie like she's trying to work herself out of that.
Right.
And I think that helps get people behind her because she's not going to wallow in what's happened.
Of course.
She's trying to, she's taking this new job. She's trying to better her situation. And so because you don't get a whole lot of exposition and time with her, with all their stuff, you kind of have to do it really quickly, just sort of in the first act to kind of get this character. That was one of our main things, was let's try to get some sympathy with her. Let's try to get people to understand that, okay, yeah, bad stuff has happened. We don't fully know everything, but you kind of get, she's dealing with a lot, and that, but she's trying. And I think that's kind of what she does throughout the whole movie, is when faced with a challenge, she tries something. She doesn't just wait for something to save her or wait for something to else to happen, or a lot of sometimes with horror movies, the characters just kind of hang out and they see what's coming, and you're like, run, and they
Right.
don't. And so sometimes it's just clear running away from the problem. But I think that was kind of the basis where we wanted to start, was just someone who was always trying, never giving up. And so that was really kind of where we started with her, and then built upon there.
Now, I think it works really great with when we get the antithesis that is the antagonist of the film. And I think at first glance, one would not think and look at her as this bona fide badass, right? Towards the middle and end of the film. But I think the film does a good job of really digging in and showing the potential of what lies in the ordinary and the unnoticed. And I think that's what Karen is somebody that is ordinary and is unnoticed. And we finally see her for what she truly becomes at the end of the film. But what is next for you guys? And I know um when everybody gets to see Hunter kill her, they're really going to see um what an amazing film this truly is. What is next for you guys after this?
Um, well, we're hoping to shoot another feature this summer. We're working toward that right now. We can't really say a whole lot about that other than that I think we're going to dip our toe in the found footage format. We have an idea how to do it a little bit different than most of the movies that are out there in that format. So we're going to give that a shot. But yeah, I mean, really for Hunter Killer, when it came out and we got a sort of limited theatrical release in the US, that was a incredible, sort of dream come true type thing. And then, and now a little bit of a, sounds like a limited theatrical release, at least with the double bill with Malum in the UK. So that's also really awesome. But yeah, we basically just tried to use the momentum that kind of building off that release to get funding for another movie in place. And so hopefully we'll get to talk again very soon about another project. But yeah, I can't really delve into that too much at the moment.
Being that found footage horror is one of my favorites, I'm really hoping that we do get to talk about that because there will be lots and lots to dig into on that front. But
Awesome. Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to talk about Hunter Killer. Like, as I said many times, it's definitely a breath of fresh air when it comes to, the horror realm. And once people get to see it, I know people will enjoy it as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah.
Yep.